Do you want something, sir? Is there something you want? You want up? Is that what you want? You want up? So I just finished Golf Curse by Cameron Rabique, and I have to say I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It was a slasher on a golf course, and man, I just love this cover. I could have read the physical book, but I already had the ebook. I want to get all of Cameron Rabique's as physical books too. So now I don't have a book to read, so I thought it might be fun to do the try a chapter thing. I've seen a lot of other booktubers do this, and I've always wanted to check it out myself and maybe give it a try. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to read the first chapter from 4 books and choose the one that seems most interesting to me. The 4 books are on the top here. Mouthful of Ashes by Brianna Morgan, Churn The Soil by Steve Stredd, Grey Noise by Marcus Hawk, and Jungle Rot by Brian C. Barry. Jungle Rot is a horror story that takes place in Vietnam, and I want to go into this one completely blind because I love Vietnam. I just love Vietnam war stories, and Vietnam horror stories are a whole other thing. I've only read one other. I can't remember the title of it, but it was by Tim Curran, and it was one of my favorites, and one time I'm going to return to that book. But right now I want to read Jungle Rot. And I mean, look at the detail in this art. Like, look at the maggots in the eye there. That's just nasty. And the intestines in the water, the river, I imagine it is. It's just it's nasty. Oh, Chapter 1, Central Highlands, Vietnam, 3rd Brigade, 25th Infantry, 1966. Alright, so first chapter of Jungle Rot is done, and that was, wow, that was an intense first chapter. It basically is a hill battle, as Vietnam was known for, pretty much the entire thing. A lot of the battles that took place in Vietnam were over hills that would be taken and then abandoned and then retaken by the enemy. Anyways, this is one of those hill battles, and it was pretty graphic. I mean, this is the sort of book that you know you're going to enjoy or not. Based on that first chapter, there's so many nasty things that happen in this first chapter that if you're offended or turned off by it, I would probably skip the rest of the book. But I really enjoyed it because of some of the things I know about the Vietnam War. And it felt kind of realistic, the battle scene. There may have been a couple over the top things in there, but if anything, it added to it. And there was something that I wanted to read because I thought it was really good. And it's not nasty or anything. So here's a quote from the book Jungle Rot. Bullets and explosions and screams crowded the air, and powder billowed and thickened as blood spilled, and men fought as though death were eager to lay its grisly talons on them all. That pretty much gives you exactly what you're going for, or what you're going to get, I think, in this book. And there was also some hints in the first chapter there of maybe some zombie action. I'm not sure, but there was a couple enemies, a couple of the NVA, North Vietnam Army, who were a little bit difficult to take down, to say the least. And they also found some of the enemy that were torn up in a kind of strange way, in like a what I believe was a bomb crater. So it'll be interesting. This one, it's going to be, if all the books start out this good, this is going to be a really tough decision. Next up is Grey Noise by Marcus Hawk. At the beginning of this book, there's a sort of content warning that I think is probably one of the most creative content warnings I've ever seen before, and I think I'm going to read it out just so you can see what this book might be about. This book will not make you feel better. It won't be your comfort read nor your escape from the dumpster fire of reality. It contains sad facts, uncomfortable truths, and hard pills to swallow. While there's no dog in this story, if there were, it wouldn't be okay. It's that kind of story. It also deals with the topics of depression, suicide, intrusive and morbid thoughts, family dysfunction, and other mature subject matter. And the synopsis of this book is, Evan Gray is just trying to get his store, Rewind Video, up and running. Fate, unfortunately, often has other plans. Then he finds something that would be the perfect touch. An old vacuum tube TV, one that keeps turning to static, and it too has other plans. It follows you, drives you. It's already inside you. Lose yourself in gray noise. So this sounds really cool. On to chapter 1. Okay, so the first chapter of Gray Noise by Marcus Hawk starts off pretty solidly, and also pretty much from the description, it's about a guy who starts a nostalgic video store. Nothing beyond 1999. It's all VHS tapes, and on the way to work, it's opening day, he finds this old tube TV on the side of the road, and so he picks it up and takes it with him, and he plugs it in, and at first it doesn't work. He hooks his VCR. It's been a while since I've said that. It's kind of strange, but he hooks up his VCR to it, and like I said, at first it doesn't work until he hits it on the side, and then it does work. Opening day so far is kind of a disappointment, but a few people come in, and there's something weird going on with that television, something unexplainable, perhaps. So that, I enjoyed that first chapter. So far, it's going to be difficult to choose which one. So we're going to move on to the next one now. And that is Churn The Soil by Steve Stredd. Man, I just love this cover. The synopsis is 200 miles north of the town of Basco sits the border. It's a quiet, off-the-grid settlement where the residents have developed a tentative agreement with those that live on the other side of the clearing. But things are about to change forever. As night falls, a teenage girl is brutally murdered as she flees across the clearing. Now it's up to Basco PD officers Brown and Reynolds to find her killer. But the truth is far worse than they could possibly imagine, and the more the officers uncover, the bolder things beyond the clearing grow. Under an icy snowfall, under a clear blue moon, north of the border lies a land unseen by man, a land where things are ready and waiting to feed. So that sounds pretty cool. I know that Steve Stredd is known for his monster fiction, creature features, and that's one of my favorites, one of my favorite genres of horror. And I've never read Steve Stredd before, so I'm really looking forward to getting into Steve Stredd. And I think this one might be a good one. Into chapter, or the prologue, we go. Alright, so I just finished, actually I read the prologue and chapter 1 for Churn The Soil by Steve Stredd. And the reason why I did that was because the first chapter, or the prologue, was really small. It was really short. It's like probably only like a few pages, and it describes what you heard in the synopsis of that young girl who gets killed by some sort of creature. And then chapter 1 moves on to the police detective who's going to be investigating this death, and they're on their way towards the scene of the incident. And the one thing that confused me is the whole border the borderland or border. It seems like there's this border is to a different world, but I'm not too sure if that's what it is exactly. It seems like that it's something like that, but maybe not. I don't know. That's kind of confusing, but I'm sure it's going to be answered later on. Maybe it was already answered and I just missed it. I don't know. So I really enjoyed that. I like Steve Stredd's characters. He has sort of like a no bullshit approach to creating characters. They're just like people. That's what I enjoyed about them the most. Yeah, this one's going to be another tough one. The only thing that's holding me back on this one is this one takes Churn the Soil takes place in winter, and I'm kind of wanting more of a summer feel. Jungle Rot, they're in the jungle. It's always hot there. Grey Noise wasn't specifically summer, but it could have been. And Churn the Soil is definitely cold. The main character, the main cop, he's kind of bitching about how cold it is where they live. Pretty much all year. 300 days a year, he says it's always freezing cold. All right, on to the next one. And that, as you can see here, is Mouthful of Ashes. I chose this one because I was talking to Crystal from Fiber Artsy about a Glenn Rolfe book that she was going to read. And it's about, from my understanding, it was an ode to that old vampire movie that a lot of us kids from the 80s absolutely love, The Lost Boys. And Mouthful of Ashes is another ode. I know this one is an ode to The Lost Boys because I've heard the author speak about it. So I've been wanting to read this since it came out, and I just never got around to it. I mean, avid readers, we all know what this is like, right? Okay, so here's the synopsis. Mourning the sudden loss of her sister, Callie Danoff wants nothing more than to embrace a fresh start in a new town, leaving the haunting memories of her sister's death behind. But when her brother Ramsey drags her to a spooky boardwalk, the two become entangled with a local vampire gang and its enigmatic leader Elijah. Callie refuses to accept their existence until she and her brother unknowingly ingest vampire blood. Now, they only have 3 days before they turn into vampires themselves. With her carefree summer thwarted, Callie must trust a group she barely knows in order to save her family. And yeah, definitely that has some Lost Boy vibes. Lost Boys. It's one of my favorite vampire films. I remember I went and saw that movie in the theater with my dad. He wasn't too impressed with it, but I absolutely adored it, and I've loved it ever since. I don't know how many times I've seen it. So, on to Chapter 1 of Mouthful of Ashes. Okay, so I just finished the first chapter of Mouthful of Ashes, and it was kind of a nasty chapter, too. It starts with the 3 siblings at the beach, and there's a storm coming, and so they decide to go home. And along the way, they get into an accident, which kills one of them, which is the nasty part. I thought, honestly, that this would help me decide which book to read, but it just made things more difficult because all of these books are very well written and well presented, and now I am stuck even more. So yeah, this is a tough choice. I enjoyed all 4 of them. So I haven't decided yet, but one, I really like that. I'm kind of into the whole Vietnam thing right now. Grey Noise I really enjoyed too, and honestly, if you look at the percentages, just one chapter, the first chapter, was 23%, so that means I could knock this book off in a day or 2. So I might go with that. I don't know. Of course, Churn the Soil takes place in the winter, and I'm not too sure if I want to read anything that's cold right now, so I think I'm going to X that one out. Mouthful of Ashes, that one's tough too because I really enjoyed that as well. But I think I'm going to go with the percentage. The one where it's the furthest percentage, and I can knock off the book pretty quick. So the winner is Grey Noise by Marcus Hawk. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video, there's going to be a couple more here that you can go check out. As I said, this was my first read the first chapter to see what book I wanted to start first, and I had a good time. Hope you did as well. Keep being safe, keep being creative, and I'll catch you guys in the next bookish video.